Fear is a powerful and primal emotion that is hardwired into our brains. It serves an important evolutionary purpose, alerting us to potential dangers and helping us to avoid harm. But when fear becomes excessive or irrational, it can become our worst enemy, holding us back from reaching our full potential and leading fulfilling lives. One of the main ways in which fear can be our worst enemy is by preventing us from taking risks and pursuing our dreams. Fear of failure, for example, can stop us from trying new things or taking on challenges that we perceive as risky. This can lead to missed opportunities and a life that feels unfulfilled. Similarly, fear of rejection can prevent us from forming meaningful relationships or pursuing a career that we are passionate about. When we let fear control us in these ways, we limit our potential and rob ourselves of the joy that comes from taking risks and achieving our goals. Another way in which fear can be our worst enemy is by causing us to focus on negative outcomes rather than positive ones. When we are afraid, our brains are wired to scan for potential threats, and we may become hyper-focused on worst-case scenarios. This can lead to a cycle of negative thinking that can be difficult to break out of. When we are constantly anticipating negative outcomes, we may miss out on the positive opportunities that are all around us. This can make us feel stuck or trapped in a negative cycle, which can have serious consequences for our mental health and overall well-being. In addition to holding us back and causing negative thinking, fear can also lead us to make poor decisions. When we are afraid, we may become reactive rather than proactive, making decisions based on our immediate emotional response rather than careful consideration. This can lead to impulsive or irrational decisions that can have serious consequences. Similarly, when we are afraid, we may be more susceptible to manipulation and may make decisions based on fear rather than facts or reason. This can be particularly dangerous in the context of politics or other areas where fear can be used to manipulate public opinion. Despite the many ways in which fear can be our worst enemy, it is important to remember that fear is a natural and necessary emotion. We will all experience fear at some point in our lives, and it is not something that we can simply overcome or ignore. Rather, we need to learn to manage our fear in a healthy and constructive way, recognizing when it is holding us back and finding ways to move forward despite our fears. This may involve seeking support from friends, family, or mental health professionals, developing coping strategies such as mindfulness or meditation, or simply taking small steps towards our goals and building confidence along the way. In conclusion, fear can be our worst enemy when it prevents us from taking risks, causes us to focus on negative outcomes, or leads us to make poor decisions. But it is important to remember that fear is a natural and necessary emotion, and that we can learn to manage it in a healthy and constructive way. By recognizing when fear is holding us back and taking steps to move forward despite our fears, we can overcome our worst enemy and live a more fulfilling and joyful life.